That is very creative, what you folks are doing with these. And Dolores, I want to ask you, you used again, you used a filter to make it more artistic, which I think works really well with this image. Look at the tree and the base and the door. Oh, that works really nicely. Now, where does your eye go, Dolores? It goes down here in the foreground. Even on images like this, you want the viewer to go into the image. So here, if we darken that pathway just enough and brings out even more of what's happening with the filter you use, this tree on the right, a little bit too much highlight there, and certainly that area back there. I would even consider cloning the tree down into that area, the green down to that area to remove it. And on this area here, maybe use a sharpening tool a little bit to bring out that wonderful texture you've used on this filter.
Oh,
And just create a little bit of darkening, a little bit more. Now let's just play with this a bit by using the sponge tool and see what we get on the door here for saturation. So here we go. Watch the shift up. I still see too much brightness on the right
on the
side.
right.
Yeah. So I'll darken that more.
Oh, I like that. I
Now,
haven't used the Dodge and Burn tool very much.
yes. So watch the difference now. The eye is coming down here and ignoring everything on the top. Now watch how you
Mhm.
see everything in the image. Could even dodge midtones on this tree on this side and up in here and bring out even more of the details in through that area. Always be conscious to bring out details and shadows that the eye or the mind wants to see into them. Watch the difference here of how it started and where we are.
Mhm.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I might steal it.
All right. Davina, very creative. Look at this. Look what Davina did. She put not only a framing around it, but a character standing outside of the frame, walking into the image, and this woman in through here.
That's the
What
fairy
gave you that
godmother.
idea?
Not a woman. That's the fairy godmother.
Oh, I see. Sorry about that. Fairy godmother. Oh, I haven't seen mine for a while. I didn't know. Very creative.
It was a photo I took at the Renaissance Festival of that woman and some other fairies and stuff like that. And when as soon as I saw that door, I thought, I know what I'm going to put in there.
Yes, very nice. The only subtlety changes I would do would be to darken the areas around here and on the right side again. I don't want my eye going over there, but I love how you created this three-dimensionality and then just do a little bit of brightening.
Got a question to ask you. When I tried to put a shadow under, instead of getting shadow, I got that purple. I kind of liked it and left it, but I couldn't figure out what was going on.
Well, because you were using the burn tool and that's a color that was there. So you could always then go back and get the sponge tool in this case to do it on desaturate and take that out.
And if I did it again, I'd flip the gradient so that the shoes were more aware of the shoes on the guy, on the elf.
Well, you've done well. This is very creative image. Well done.
Thank
Wow,
you.
Davina, I'm impressed.
I told you I like fairies.
Holly? Again, very small image, so I'll
Oh, it's
take
great.
it up a little bit, but it's going to be blurry because of that. But I think that the most important thing for you to look through your images, how bright some area is versus other parts of the area.
Right.
Yeah, the image. And you see that on this image very much so. And that's
was-
where the eye is going primarily.
The gradient on that one.
Ah, yeah, well, be careful how you use that.
Okay.
Ian also used a filter, did a framing on it. Very nice approach on this, handled the highlights and shadows very well. I think you've done a really good job. I would only recommend using the dodge tool on midtones to bring out a little bit more detail over here. I am super sensitive to shadows without detail that should have something for me to see. And it's my training from John Sexton, who was Ansel Adams' assistant for many years. The creativity that you have here is very nice. Just darken that foreground a little bit and the trees a little bit, and maybe bring out a little cover. This is my aspects of art. And Lynn chastises me often for having things too saturated, but I like it that way. So I do. So look at the difference here. Again, shifting from highlights to shadows where I've shifted them, and where your eye roams around in this image now and sees more detail everywhere. Rebecca, did well, Rebecca. Very nice, nicely done. See the detail she has. I would just go for some more detail up in this upper right area. Just like that. And these highlight little areas here, I'm getting really picky. And the spot healing brush, I just tap them and it will match all the pixels nearby and remove those very easily. And darken the foreground just a little bit.
I think your screen frozen, John.
Pardon?
Well, no, it's starting to move now. It was frozen for a second.
Ah, okay. Yeah, let me know if that happens. It happens periodically. So just doing those few changes and darkening up above the door, because that's a little bit too bright in relation to everything else that's happening. Here's the opening. Now watch how the highlights are controlled and where I want your eye to go. You now are forced to look at that door. You see all the other areas there, but it's a balance of highlights and shadows that is so important. And Rebecca did a black and white. And I think it works really well. Do the same changes. Do this black and white off the changes that we made on that color image, and you'll see a very different, especially in black and white. You see that upper right area with no detail? That's very, very no-no in a black and white. You want to have some detail in those areas. See how that works so much better in a black and white. Big shadows in a black and white image forces the viewer to be turned away, I guess, turned away. It's not of interest, and so they don't look into those areas. But just doing what we did here, see that upper right corner? Watch the foreground, how much that changes. Stella, very interesting image. A treatment of it. Let me remove the extras here. Colors, saturation. You used a filter on this. I think it works really well. You even scrunched the foreground here a little bit, which pushes us to the door even more, and less on the top. All of that works really well. And for my eye, the only set of very subtle changes would be this highlight over on the right, on the tree, highlight here on the left, come down here, and open up the shadow area at the top right, just a little bit more, and on the right side here. That is really nicely done. And I'll try a little bit of coloring in the door. Such a striking image. From there, watch the highlight shifts to there. You notice where the highlight primarily is now. Here, these bright highlights here are distracting. Now that image is just balanced overall. And Tom Hughes. Same comments, Tom. This bright area here, and in fact, could crop even more to come in. You don't need on this image as much as that foreground. That works really well. And then the darkening. Darken the tree. That highlight on the right side, especially in the background here. And above, bring out the detail. One of the other things I've done with the burn tool, I'm going to try it here, is to put it on to burn shadows, which means it will darken only the darkest pixels and do the door, which makes it a little bit more three-dimensional, and then come back with the sponge tool, which brings color and lightens it. It makes that door stand out really well. Watch the difference. More three-dimensional.